what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today: Neckzilla Rubiel Mascara. I've had a couple people actually ask me what's been new with Neckzilla. We haven't really heard much about him since his last show. Well, this is what's new with him. He's 4 weeks out. It looks like he is again doing the Dubai Pro, which last year he did. He was 4th at that show. And that show last year for him was one of the big ones that a lot of people really criticized his conditioning at that show. And looking at these updates, I kind of feel like we might see a repeat of that situation, even though he's posing for Haney, one of the greatest coaches of all time. But I don't think Haney has anything to do with actually prepping him or coaching him, because Haney's out the game. But when I look at an update like this, and again, we're talking 4 weeks out, we're essentially right around the corner from the show. There's just like a level of detail that just doesn't come across in his physique. Yes, he's massive. He's huge. His legs are insane. But I almost think it's to a detriment. I mean, you look at his quads in this video. Obviously, they're gnarly. They're huge. You've never seen anything like them before. But look at the separation in the quads. It's really just not that deep, because it might be just the quads are so big and so full that type of separation just doesn't come through, but you just don't see deep cuts in the legs. And I think the same is true from the back. You don't see like deep corded separated hamstrings. And I think these are things that you probably should be seeing at 4 weeks out, especially, in a lineup like this. I know we've got Behroos, Tabani. I believe Nathan Diasha is doing it. Last year, Nathan, Behroos, and Bonak, all three did the Dubai show last year. I don't know for sure if Bonak is doing it or not again this year. But these are guys that you just can't show up with lackluster conditioning against. These guys are seasoned, veteran guys that are known for bringing crazy conditioning over and over and over again consistently. And it does make me wonder when I see another update like this at 4 weeks out of a guy like Neckzilla, is he really just going to be one of these guys that, he's got a freak physique, he's a mass monster, he gets a lot of attention on social media, a lot of people talk about him. But is he going to end up being one of these guys that just competitively never really puts it together? Because you can really see that thickness and size in the side shots. But like I said, you don't really see much separation in the lower body, even in the side shots. From the back and from the front, you're not seeing that level of detail and separation in the lower body, but you're also not seeing like really any flow. There's nothing aesthetically pleasing about his physique in either the back or the front. And then when I look back at the video from last year, when he did the Dubai Pro last year, and I believe this was the finals video, because he was tighter at the finals than he was at the prejudging. He came out to the prejudging looking essentially like he was just doing a guest posing. But when you look at him on stage in contest condition, really, to me, the only thing that he has going for him is just that wow factor, that freak factor of just the size of this guy is crazy. But he doesn't have crazy conditioning. He doesn't have really anything aesthetically pleasing about his physique. He just has like raw size that he hasn't really fully refined yet. And so when I look back at last year's version of Neckzilla, I just don't see this version, this bodybuilder, this physique, doing anything significant against the top 10 guys at the Olympia right now. He might be one of the top 10 freakiest bodybuilders in the world, one of the top 10 maybe biggest bodybuilders in the world, maybe not even biggest, maybe just freakiest. But I don't think he's one of the top 10 best in the world right now, and I don't know if he will be. He just doesn't have a great structure. But let me know what you guys think about Neckzilla's physique in the comments down below. Now, next up in the news, I wanted to show you guys the latest physique update from Behroos Tabani, because Behroos won the Dubai show last year, so he's going to be basically the chief competition for a guy like Rubiel. He's kind of the benchmark standard to beat. And when it comes to like this conversation about conditioning, I would say maybe of the three, if Bonak does it, Nathan does it, Behroos, of those three guys, I think Behroos has the best conditioning. So I think he'll be a very difficult guy for somebody like Neckzilla to beat. And to my point about Neckzilla, when I think about the top 10 best bodybuilders in the world, the top 10 Olympians, I don't see Neckzilla doing any damage in that top 10. Behroos, I do. And again, I really hope that Behroos is able to get his visa to come compete at the Olympics. I do think he belongs on that stage. And I think if he were given the opportunity, I think he would 100% be in the top 10. So it looks like this year's Dubai Pro is already shaping up to be one of the bigger shows of the year. I believe the prize money is $140,000 now for first place. And I'm sure the lineup is going to even continue to grow from where it's at now. In fact, I saw this latest update of Regan Grimes, and Regan recently did an interview in addition to this update where he says he wants to bring his all-time best next weekend at the Toronto Pro. But Regan also mentioned in an interview that there's a chance that he might also do the Dubai Pro, which would be interesting. And I like this version of Regan because he's already qualified for the Olympia now. Winning the Cali Pro was enough. He's qualified. He's getting there. But I think the issue that he had in New York was, like I said, I think he was just a little bit rusty because he hadn't competed in a while. He wasn't used to it. I think that's why he was sweating so much on stage and fading so much. And really, I think the remedy to that, in Regan's case specifically, is just competing more often, getting those reps in, building that muscle memory back up, just being on stage. So I like the idea that he's already qualified for the Olympia, but he knows that these packages that he's been bringing are some of his better, if not his best packages of his entire career. And so after qualifying, he's doing Toronto. He might also go to a really challenging lineup like Dubai when he really doesn't have to. And that's what I like to see. I think that's cool. You know, I think one aspect of like the whole prize money conversation that's a little undervalued here is, yeah, we talk a lot about how much money a bodybuilder can win by winning one show. But there is that other option, is just compete a lot and try to win as many shows, get as much prize money as you can by not just competing once a year, but maybe do 4, 5, 6 shows in a year. That's another way to get a lot of prize money. It doesn't have to be all at one show. I mean, if Regan won Cali, he was 4th in New York. Let's just hypothetically, let's just say he wins Toronto and also wins Dubai. I know that's a big stretch, but let's just hypothetically say that. I think he'd be looking at like over $200,000 in prize money for all those shows combined, all those placings combined. And that's not yet counting whatever he may get at the Olympia, whatever he could get if he did the Arnold. And look, that's significant. $200,000 for a bodybuilder in prize money for a year, that's a lot of money. Now, next up in the news, there seems to be a pretty interesting discussion around this topic. So I believe this was a comment left on a Muscle Discord clip on Muscle Discord's Instagram is what this quote is coming from. But it's coming from 8-time Mr. Olympia Lee Haney. It has stirred up quite a bit of conversation, maybe not as much conversation as the whole prize money debate. But this is what Lee Haney said. He said, bodybuilding has lost its way and appeal to the general population. No longer is it being showcased as it was in times past. This is apparent to the teenage athletes that I'm greeted by in my travels. Now, I'm not really sure what he means by that part. There needs to be a reset before our sport comes crashing down. However, let's keep hope alive, making the necessary changes to save our sport. Now, the context of this comment, the post that he was commenting on was a clip about whether or not Nick Walker could win the Olympia. So kind of the vibe that I got from this was maybe this was a commentary more so on the current physiques that are being rewarded in bodybuilding. When he says a great reset for bodybuilding, what does he mean by that? Maybe he's talking about the judging standards, but he also mentioned that it's not being presented in the same way, showcased in the same way. And I don't know if when he says that he's referring to the types of physiques that are being showcased, or if he's talking about the venues or the platforms that they're being showcased on. Or back in the day, bodybuilding was never mainstream. But back in the day, you could find bodybuilding on CBS, sometimes ESPN. You could see, I believe the Arnold was even on mainstream television at one point, maybe for like a year or two. But none of that ever really lasted. And I don't know if that was quite Lee Haney's era or a little bit after his era. To me, his comment was more a critique of the physiques that are being rewarded and showcased today. Because I've seen him comment on the types of bodybuilders that are winning shows before. I personally feel, though, I'm only 32. In all the bodybuilding that I've seen in my lifetime, this, to me, is the best era to be a bodybuilding fan. You've got social media. You've got access to all the shows live streamed online. You can watch any show anywhere in the world from your house. You can interact with any of your favorite bodybuilders that you want right there on Instagram or whatever. You get to follow their physiques in real time going up into a show. And I think the other thing, too, that makes right now one of the best times in bodybuilding is because if you don't like the types of physiques that you see in open bodybuilding, and if you have a more Lee Haney-centric taste in what you want to see out of a physique, you've also got an extremely popular classic physique division right now where you can go see that type of physique be rewarded. So the fact that we have men's open bodybuilding maybe at its all-time peak of popularity due to social media, and you've also got this new massive division called classic physique where those guys are just as popular, if not more popular than the open guys. I think this is the best time to be a bodybuilding fan because whatever you like, there's essentially a division for that. And it's not like classic physique is some small, underappreciated division. It's huge. And I also thought Fouad Abiad made a really good point. He left a comment on this post, and he said Samson Dauda is probably the most similar physique in recent history that's won the Olympia to Lee Haney's physique when Lee Haney was winning. So then what would Lee Haney be complaining about as far as the standards in bodybuilding right now? Because Samson Dauda has a very similar structure to him. He's just much, much bigger than Lee Haney was. So to me, when Lee Haney says there needs to be a reset, to me, classic physique kind of was that reset. Because we had kind of this era, I would say like the 2010s era of bodybuilding where people felt like the guys were getting too big. There was a lot of people complaining about the distended midsections, the bubble guts, if you will. And the Pro League essentially answered that criticism with the classic physique division that was kind of the antidote to that. And they also added in the rules that distended midsections will, it'll knock you down in your points. But I think the 2010s era was where a lot of the fans had that negative opinion of the open bodybuilding physique. And I feel like that was really remedied with the advent of classic physique. If you like the big freaks, you can still have the big freaks in open. And if you want a really aesthetic physique, you got a whole division for that. And I thought that was one of the biggest, coolest, most significant resets that bodybuilding has had. And I think it's largely responsible for so much of the younger generation now that you see on social media. They're following the classic guys. And then, you're seeing the prize money at an all-time high for bodybuilding. I mean, Lee Haney was winning $50,000 when he won his first Olympia. Now the Arnold is giving away $750,000. So I don't think prize money is an issue. That's grown significantly. And I think the other thing that makes this a really cool era of bodybuilding as well is this constant changing of the guard when it comes to the Olympia champion. There is no clear frontrunner at the Olympia this year because the title has changed hands almost every year, which is something that throughout the history of bodybuilding we really haven't gotten to see much of that, which I actually think is kind of a good thing. To me, there really hasn't been a dominant champion in the last more than half a decade. So you're not seeing one guy just hold the Olympia title hostage and win every single year controversially. You're seeing different guys, different types of physiques win the title every year. And I think that's much more exciting than one guy winning, 10 years in a row. Because going into the Olympia this year, who's winning? I don't think we have any idea. There's no clear frontrunner, which I think makes it 10 times more exciting. Samson is the defending champion from last year, but I think it's safe to say we don't know if Samson's going to win this year. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I would say, A, what do you think specifically Lee Haney is targeting in this comment? What do you think his issue is primarily with? And then B, what do you think he means when he says there needs to be a reset? What do you think that reset is or should be? And I guess a third question, what is your biggest problem with bodybuilding today? What is your biggest issue with it? Now, next up in the news, I wanted to talk about Patrick Moore for a second here. So Patrick Moore, not the greatest showing, especially at this last weekend's Cali Pro. But I was looking at these recent updates from Patrick Moore, who's also doing the Legion show this weekend. And I really like Patrick's attitude, because I'm sure, he's getting a lot of negative feedback after, the showing like Cali. He's probably very disappointed in how he looked. But I was reading the caption here, and it says, "Left is the Cali prep. Right is Legion's. I owe it to myself to keep showing up the best I can. It's a learning curve, but I'm going to get it right. I can get it wrong 99 times, but that one time will shift things. 2 more days to get sharper." I really like his attitude here, and I really hope that he improves enough for the Legion show to maybe make the first call out, maybe be in the mix a little bit here, because I really like that attitude of I'm just going to keep trying to come in better, and I'm going to just keep trying to get it right. And when you look at the side-by-side comparison, he does look a lot sharper for this prep. So maybe he'll place a lot better here. I believe he placed 10th at the Cali show. Just 4 more placings better would put him in that first call-out, which I think would be huge for him. And I think even this lineup for Legion, I think you can maybe argue is even less competitive than the Cali lineup was. So maybe he does have a chance at being in that first call-out here and seeing some improvement in placing. But shout out to Patrick Moore. I hope to see him do better here. And the final story that I've got for you guys today, the latest physique update from Tonio Burton, just 2 days out from the 2025 Legion Sports Festival. For me, Tonio is the clear front-runner to win this show. I think it would take a wild card, somebody like Blessing, if Blessing came in and looked crazy, to pull off an upset here. I think in this lineup, for me, Tonio is the clear favorite. This physique update, absolutely gnarly. He's in great condition. Very well-proportioned, very well-balanced physique. I think it's very clear that this time off has benefited him. He's added some size. He looks bigger. He is bigger. He says he's about 230 pounds versus the last time he competed being 216. I think this will be an extraordinarily difficult physique to beat on stage at the Legion Sports Festival. But let me know your predictions for this weekend's Legion Sports Festival in the comments down below. That's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.